Welcome to our personal empowerment audio program, Finding Yourself in Paradise. Hi, I'm Michael Benner.
And I'm Steve Snyder. And our program today begins our new series, The Family Learning Hour. This is a program to pick up where the school system has failed. We're going to teach children how to learn.
Yeah, I guess somebody's got to do it. If the school system isn't going to do it, then the families can do it. But get this. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Maybe we can consider that the family is the best learning unit imaginable. Plus, flipping it around, what a benefit to the family to have a reason to get together that makes learning fun, in which everybody benefits from enjoying helping everybody else get better and better in their particular fields of interest. In other words, this is not homeschooling we're talking about. The curriculum here is very precise. As Steve said, how to learn. And we can do it in 5 programs. There's an intro and then 4 parts that follow. This program you're about to hear is our introduction, and then the 4 parts that follow constitute these segments that you can use, followed by about 20 minutes of discussion. You got a nice little hour. How about once a week, 1 hour for 5 weeks, listening to these programs? That's our Family Learning Hour. How to learn. I think it's a pretty cool idea.
So the first program, this intro, is about finding yourself in paradise. Who is the self that does the learning? And following programs will cover subjects like accelerated reading, both speed and comprehension, study techniques, memory improvement, test taking and performance skills. We're going to talk about attention deficit and other special learning styles. And we'll talk about how to listen and how to organize and take notes. We're going to talk about how to be a great learner. We're going to talk about how to help each other. We're going to talk about how to resolve conflicts, and we're going to talk about how to ask for help. All the skills of working together in a learning process that the school system has failed to teach our children. Well, we can't wait any longer. Our kids need to know how to learn, and this program will teach them. So over the next month, spend some time, 1 hour a week with your kids, sitting down, listening for 40 minutes. You can listen separately or together, but after you've listened, come together for 20 minutes. Talk about what was important. Talk about what you learned. And in this program, you'll learn about finding yourself in paradise. So every day, every single day that follows before the next program, spend some time going to this place of paradise inside yourself. You're going to create in this program, and encourage each member of the family to do so as well. Ask them about their paradise place inside. Get them to tell you more and more what it feels like to go there, because finding yourself in paradise is the secret to being an accelerated learner.
Now, the whole idea of the Family Learning Hour, how to learn, accelerated learning, and alpha learning, we'll explain these distinctions as we move through it, is ultimately based on the understanding, the realization that we are more, much more, than our thoughts and our feelings. After all, if we were our thoughts, then who are we when we argue with ourselves? Who are we when we have that on second thought feeling? Let's explore that. Steve and I are going to go through that now for you, and then the following week will be part number 1, and 2, 3, and 4 in successive weeks. The Family Learning Hour. Enjoy yourself. So, Steve, what self are we talking about?
Actually, we're going to focus on the self part at the beginning of this program and the paradise part at the end. But what came up for me is I had a conversation with a friend, and he said, well, why don't you just call it Finding Paradise? You know, I mean, isn't it sort of like redundant to say finding yourself? And who else are you going to find in paradise? You know, and he thought that the self that he took looking for himself in paradise was the same self he was going to find there. What he didn't realize was that when he got to paradise, the self that he found there was the one that was aware of the fact that he brought a different self, and there were lots of other selves as well. In paradise, you don't bring a self. In paradise, you discover that there is an awareness of all the selves.
Yeah. In many ways, describing the higher self to people who have never really reflected on whether there is such a thing or encountered literature, psychological, spiritual, anthropological, or otherwise, that suggests that consciousness evolves, that we can deliberately wake up and be more aware of our relationship with life itself. We can find answers to some of the great existential questions of existence that occur to us. That's new for a lot of folks. And how do you describe a symphony to someone who's deaf, a sunset to someone who's been blind from birth, It's a challenge, and yet that's what we do. That's what you and I have done for more than 30 years together and apart, is introduce people to benefits of development that are so extraordinary that it's really a whole new sense of self, a higher self and a more authentic self.
Right. It's something they've always had, but only got glimpses of in the past. When they said things like, well, it was against my better nature. That's who we're talking about. That better nature part. That's the one. It's that little voice that once in a while is the voice of reason and says, that little, the one that goes, what little voice? I don't have a little voice. That little voice. We've all had the experience of tasting, touching, connecting with this higher self. But what we're talking about is, in this place of paradise, in this place of focused passion, hence the website focusedpassion.com, in this place you experience being the higher self. That is, you are the awareness of the fact that you have thoughts, you have feelings, you have a body, you have attitudes, you have belief systems, but you aren't any of those things. You, at this moment, with one slow, conscious, deep breath, become the awareness of all that.
So that's our agenda for the day today. In some ways, this is a review or a summary of our first year as an audio program provided in this fashion over the internet, by podcast, by download. As subscribers, you can listen streaming. And yet it's also a preview of what's yet to come. And what we're going to be revealing here, and do it from ground zero, right? At the very beginning, blank slate. These points that Steve has made. We're going to talk about what is focus and what is passion. For this website is so easy to remember, focusedpassion.com. You'll find out what that is. And as Steve has just begun to tell you, what is the self and what is this paradise? And if you get the concept that going to this way of thinking called paradise creates benefits that really reveal the truth of who you are. Steve gave you some examples. How about those occasions where it seems that the curtain is pulled aside and suddenly, aha, there it is, or the light bulb pops on in your head, or maybe you're thunderstruck. It's like everything is illumined for a moment, or it might even be a gradual dawning or realization. These are not logical things, and yet they're also not instinct, but qualities of insight that could be called, intuition, perhaps, another way of knowing, realization. One of my favorite words, Steve, is just to realize, because it comes with not just the new information, but an awareness that it had been there all along. It just feels so right. You get this, I see, what the Greeks called it, illumination, eureka illumination.
Right. It's like the instant you take the test, you get the answer back with a big green check mark. Correct. You got that one right. That feeling. Well, that's intuition comes that way. It's like not only is the fact in your head, but it's the in feeling of, this is the right feeling.
And it tends to be a big overarching concept rather than just more data or information. It's not more bricks. It's the cement that holds the bricks together.
Right. So we're talking about, in this show, really, understanding that when you bring yourself to paradise, the self you're bringing to paradise to look for your higher self isn't the higher self you're going to find. Once you bring yourself, that is, you have this idea, I'm going to go to paradise now and find myself. Well, the part of you that decided that brought you there, that part, as you close your eyes and take a deep breath, that part sort of goes away, that logical, conscious, rational, thinking, normal mind. And you move towards sleep, just a tiny, tiny bit of the way, but enough so that chatter mind goes away. And what emerges from all of that, is the higher self, which we've called the true self, the authentic self, the new you, lots of names. But essentially what emerges is this awareness, this part of you that knows that you're not your thoughts or your feelings, that it knows you're not any one of the aspects of you, that knows that you are all of the above and you can have a thought and not have to be affected by it. You can feel a feeling and not have to act on it. You can be like the big picture thinker of your life, and that higher self. You won't live there 24/7, but you do need to be able to go there to discover and develop. Those two things, really. To discover who you are, what's in you, what you have capable, what's your potential, and then to develop into the best you can be.
To even know there is a there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That our better nature is accessible, that those moments of insight that we were just describing, where the top of your head opens up and you get a really brilliant insight or an understanding, Steve and I are talking about going there on demand.
You don't have to hope for those moments. You can go get them.
That's right. And I know the majority of you listening to us now are aware of this, but we always have new people coming on board, and I'm an old-timer in this field. Steve's been, not that I'm an old-timer. I've been doing this field my whole life, though, and so has Steve. We know this material, and yet both of us, I think, would agree that there's enormous value for us, and therefore we assume for you also, in going back to the basics, finding new ways to talk about it so that we can not only benefit ourselves, but find ever better ways of explaining what's often called mindfulness or detachment to people who are put off by words like mindfulness and detachment. Well, how can I know more by detaching? That's counterintuitive for most.
Right. Most people think detach means disassociate.
Right.
Actually, what detach means is like step back and see it from the big picture. It doesn't mean disconnect at all.
Right.
It means don't be like right in it. You know, like if the train's going by and you're standing 5 feet away, you only see one car at a time. If you go way up on the mountain, you can see all the cars at the same time. That's what detach means. Get away from being in the picture and step out and watch the picture.
A simple way to understand the way we attach to our thoughts and our ideas and our identities is to think of it in a material way. Let's say you rented a car and came out of the grocery store and saw that somebody had pushed a shopping cart into the rental car and it made you feel a certain way. Well, imagine that it wasn't a rental car. It was your car, but it's pretty old and it's got a lot of other dings in it. And then imagine the third scenario where it's a brand new car and you just love it and you've only had it for a week and you come out. I mean, reality is perception. You see, life really is what you make it. So we can learn to attach to varying degrees or to let go altogether, and that's where the benefits of being at choice are most clear.
And as difficult as it is to conceive of the idea of letting go altogether, you know, like not caring at all is what that seems like, that's not what happens. See, what happens is, as we step into paradise and move into what we call paradise thinking, focused passion thinking in the alpha brainwave state, bringing all of your conscious mind's energy, the focus, all your emotions, your passion, bringing them both together, nothing else going on, total focus, concentration, amplified passion and interest, all on one thing. In that state, with this access to the higher consciousness, what happens is all of a sudden you get to see that what you want is only one of the possible scenarios. You get to like be above it all and say, well, let's see. If I had everything I wanted, it would look like this. And the higher self looks at that and goes, well, that's nice, but maybe there's better than that available. Let's not attach to that, because that means we're not going to get anything better than that. So let's just look at that. That's our direction. That's sort of our map. But we're not stuck on having to have that thing. The higher self's never stuck on having to have anything. And that's how you know it's the higher self. Because the lower self attaches, it holds on, it thinks with fear, and it literally, the body tightens up when it wants something. With the higher self, it always feels like love, and it always feels like detached, in that it always feels like letting go. Whenever it thinks about something, it never tightens up like needing it. It always goes, oh, that's nice, you know. Yeah. And whenever there's a feeling of relief, a feeling of release, a feeling of the muscle tension going away and the breath being released, that means the mind is letting go and feeling the detachment feeling. So it's all physiology.
Here's another way of looking at this. How do I know the difference between this higher self that you guys are promising that everybody has within them, but most people are not aware or awake or alert to its presence? Here's a difference to consider. The higher self, the true self, the one you'll find in paradise, with focused passion as a means and a method, would rather understand than be right.
So well said. It has zero need to be right. It has an enormous need to empathize, feel compassion, and understand. The easiest way to know whether it's the higher self or not is, does that voice sound like love, or does that voice sound like fear?
Yeah, there you go.
You know, I mean, the voice that sounds like fear, that's not the one.
Right. That's why you'll often run into the acronym of fear in personal development, human potential trainings, life coaching, and they'll say, fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And that's difficult for some of us at first because we conflate stress and anxiety as confusion with stress and anxiety as some sort of danger. And the vast majority of our stress, of course, is the former. We're not in that much danger.
Very, very little. In fact, as much as the media would like you to think otherwise, we live in an enormously safe world with pockets of danger.
Yep.
Even though they'd like you to believe that we live in a dangerous world and you might be able to find a pocket of safety.
It sells newspapers and it ups the ratings.
It does. But, the truth is, when you close your eyes and you go to paradise inside, you are 100% safe because your mind thinks you are, and so therefore you are. That's the bottom line. So we talk about waging inner peace, the idea of combating all the stress of quote-unquote reality with some real good imagination. Imagination is so powerful. Everything starts as an imagination. So closing your eyes and imagining yourself in paradise and therefore experiencing you are safe. You are safe. Nothing's attacking you. Nothing's dangerous right now. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to be concerned about. Right now, you are safe. Just knowing that your higher self is aware of the fact that it is definitely safe right now, it can go and experience a sigh of relief for the entire self. See, we're talking about the higher self when we say self, and so we're looking at it in a kind of new way, like capital S, capital E, capital L, capital F. Not just the capital S at the beginning of the word, but every one of those letters is capitalized, and that's the big self we're talking about, and that's kind of almost a trademark of what we're doing now. We've got a brand new makeover on our website. It's just new. We've just thrown the old one out and replaced it with a brand new one, including a spectacular video program about introducing the concept of finding yourself in paradise. And you'll find the big self. The big self is what you're going to find in paradise and going to find on our new focusedpassion.com website as well. And it's a great way to really show everybody else what you're listening to and what you're doing.
Wisdom on demand. Imagine creativity, insight, and understanding on demand. And there's really no trade-out for going to paradise and accessing the big picture through this higher, more authentic sense of self. You don't lose any logic. You don't lose your ability to think deductively and to be a reductionist if that's what you want to do. You can continue to access logic. There's nothing illogical about this elevated point of view. It's just you see the bigger picture and you have more choices. And another thing I would add that dovetails onto what Steve is saying about love and fear, higher self is a letting go. It's an allowing yourself to be smarter and more sensitive and more loving and to get the bigger picture. That's a matter of allowing. It's like letting go of tension in sports to be better and stronger. Tension does not serve you in sports. Tension does not serve us in understanding ourselves or anything else in the world for that matter. The regular self, the egoic self, or the persona nature is a holding on. That's fear-based, that's scary, and that's the guy that hurts. But
it needs to be there because that's the defense against the real danger out there.
It has that role to play.
Yeah, you can't just let it go.
That's right, and because there may be some real danger. You're driving down the freeway and somebody's weaving, and you may need that. Just as in sports, there may be time when the adrenaline has to pump and you rise to the occasion. But we know that trying too hard degrades performance. Again, not only in sports, but in your awareness of all things. So the higher self isn't a self that holds on. It's a self that lets go and moves right into the heart of things.
Right. So the two things you can tell for sure, if you're wondering, is this voice my higher self? Does it sound like love or does it sound like fear? My voice, when it sounds like love, sounds a lot like this. And when my voice sounds like fear, my voice sounds a little different when it sounds like, there's a tension. If I imagine being scared, I can tell the difference between my voice when it sounds like love and when it sounds like fear. You can too. And I can also tell when I hear the voice in my mind or think the voice, whatever name you want to put on that, if it's a love voice, my whole body lets go. Like, my breathing relaxes. And if it's a fear voice, my whole body tenses up. So it's really, anytime my voice sounds like fear, I stop breathing and I tighten my muscles. Anytime my voice sounds like love, or my thought or my mind voice, whatever you want to call that. Some people hear it as a voice. Some people just know what it is. But whenever it feels like love, my shoulders slump, and whenever it feels like fear, my shoulders bunch. It's obvious when you just listen. It's the difference between. Oh, in the old cartoons in the old days, they used to. I don't know. I like the metaphor, but the little devil and the little angel on the shoulders, and one voice is like saying, "Oh, be nice and compassionate," and the other voice is like, "Oh no, get greed." You can tell the difference between the two voices inside, and the one that feels like love and feels relaxed and feels like you said, letting go. That's the one. That's the one.
So you have two cells at the very least, because two can be polarities, and now you've got the whole spectrum in between, all the variations of the ego self, which is the separated self. That's its job, to protect that separated self.
I like to think of myself as pretty integrated, but clearly I'm different when I'm with you than I am with my mother. I have a different behavior pattern with my, even though you could say it's the same Steve, it's not. I'm different around her than I am around you.
Right. So egos really, or persona, as in personality, can be a set of characters and roles and the stories, the requisite tales that go with these different characters and roles, but we're more than that. We're more than that. We are the producer and the writer and the director. Steve, what's that line from the new Brian Wilson song?
Oh, that's such a line. Something like, "Aren't we all actors upon the stage?" And he said, "No, some of us are writers with the grit to hit the page." Yeah, we're all actors, and the whole world's a play. That's a true statement in a way, because we're all acting in each other's plays and our own. But some people are aware of the fact that they're writing their own script, and others aren't.
Yeah.
Some people are victims. It's a harsh word, but if you're not aware that you're writing your script, then you're writing it without awareness. Then it's sort of just being written based on all the stuff you've learned and heard from other people. Your input isn't involved in it. You're writing the script, but you're writing it based on what everybody else has told you, not what you've thought. How can you think for yourself if you don't know who yourself is that's doing the thinking?
That's right. You see this in acting. The best actors are women and men who know themselves, their higher nature, the best of their potential, their particular gifts, and bring that to the roles that they choose. The mediocre and poor actors are those people who are in the field to try to find themselves. Which one of these characters could I be like? The Don Henley, I know my life would look all right if I could see it on the silver screen. Well, why are you so concerned about how your life would look on the silver screen? If you really knew who you were, should be present tense, as we come to know the truth of who we are, and that sense of self unfolds, you realize this higher self, this elevated point of view, this better nature, and then that realization continues, that process. And you'll always have this separated ego,
sure,
because if somebody scares you or you're in real danger, its job is to take over. And thank goodness, we're the survivors of ancestors who were survivors. We've gotten really good at this stuff.
It's a lot less dangerous than it was even 200, 300, 400, 500 years ago.
And it's time to begin to look at the value of meditation outside of some sort of religion or even philosophy, but what happens physically and emotionally and mentally and spiritually when you meditate or contemplate or practice self-hypnosis. It's in yoga, it's in all of the martial arts, it's the essence of accelerated learning and sports psychology. Hook me up to a big machine, we'll call it biofeedback, add a little positive thinking. It's all the same thing. It's mental focus and emotional passion that takes you to a level of paradise where you find the truth of the self that you have been all along, the authentic higher self.
Right. And when you're there, Well, there's an infinite number of things you could do or work on, but we've chosen 3 basic areas of life for our aspects of focusing your passion, our ability to help you focus your passion in 3 basic areas of life. One is growth, which means solving your problems and allowing yourself to be in the normal growth process. Growth means get out of your way, basically, and determine the direction that you want to grow. And then see some goals accomplished in your life. Success, the idea of success, you define your success, but how to define success and how to create success in your life. And then once you're on that path and you feel successful, how to feel more than successful, but to feel fully fulfilled. That is to feel like you're not only personally successful, but you're making a difference, that you've gone beyond success to significance. So we're talking about how to grow, meaning how to get out of your own way and solve your problems and make your decisions and set your direction. And then we're talking about success, defining what the road is like for you, what is success for you. And then we're talking about once you're well on your way and feeling all that success going, how do you give back? How do you change the planet in positive ways? That's what Focused Passion and the brand new website we're introducing right now is all about: growth, success, and fulfillment.
The very first part of any personal growth process, and then we'll talk about success and fulfillment, as Steve has indicated, is overcoming your resistance to change. Even if I could give you a guarantee that the benefits would be all positive or mostly positive, growth means change, and change means things unknown, and things unknown are confusing and therefore stressful, and so sometimes you got a little 2-step forward and 1 step back that goes along with personal growth, and I think it's a good idea to acknowledge that up front. Our resistance to any kind of change.
Yeah, so significant. The hardest part is the first step. The hardest part of moving refrigerators, getting unstuck from the floor, as your great mentor said. So yeah, the first step, and that's why the idea of taking that step is so challenging. We feel like if we're going to take a first step, it ought to be a significant one. We ought to take a big old step to make, the world recognize we've taken a step. And then the bigger the step, the more frightening the step is to us, and the more fear we have, the less likely we are to take that step. So here's what we always suggest in terms of growth, and that is, it doesn't really matter how fast, it only matters in what direction. So choose the direction you want to grow and take one tiny, tiny, tiny little step in that direction, because an object in motion tends to stay in motion. And once you have inertia, once you have momentum, once you've taken that first step, as small as it is, it doesn't matter what size it is, it's much easier to take a next step. In fact, much more likely you'll take the next step with the momentum you have than it would be that you'd rock back to your initial position.
Eastern philosophy has influenced the West to an enormous degree in the last 40 or 50 years, and I'm sure it's going to continue, just as Western technology is changing
Absolutely.
life in the East. But there's still a lot of confusion about what Westerners might see as the complacency of Buddhism and Taoism.
Yes.
Common Buddhist koan, for example, is in the spring the grass grows. The idea meaning you don't have to really do anything to be who you really are. You just sit and let go of who you are not, and eventually what's left is who you are. The point is, if you did nothing, you would grow. You are growing now. We're just talking about acknowledging it and then maybe doing it in a more elegant and more accelerated fashion.
Yeah. What did George Harrison say? Many paths to get you there in many different ways. One path will take you years, the other will take you days, So yeah, there's lots of ways to get there. And sometimes when you're going from here to there, when you're setting a goal and moving in the direction of the goal, the shortest distance between 2 points might be a straight line, but that might not be the most fun way to go. Maybe little tangents like we took a moment ago makes a more enjoyable journey. So the idea of a goal isn't like a destination I need to get to as fast as possible, because you may change your mind on your goals along the way. The idea of a goal is to have something out there that is setting your direction and giving you an idea of which way to go next. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, as George Harrison also said.
And we need to see the road in a dynamic way. Follow me here, because both things are true. And we need to break out of either-or thinking and trying to find the one model. You need several models when you're going to understand your life, your existence, and meaning and purpose and such things. So that path that Steve's talking about, and the classic ageless metaphor of the way, the middle road, the stairway, Jacob's ladder, is both an attainment or advancement, a kind of a vertical growth, but also a path that goes toward the center. It carries a sense of unfolding what you already have, as well as attaining, and both things are true. There is a lot to be said for attainment and becoming more, but temper that with a nice blended understanding of your potential to be more. You already have. You're really not going anyplace on this path except deeper into the truth of who you really are.
Yeah, so growth isn't necessarily meaning like getting new stuff from out there. Growth could be learning more about what's in here, and it's both, obviously.
And all of that, right?
And all of that, and then some. So the growth concept is to identify the areas of strength that you have and work with those areas and move forward toward what you want, and to identify those areas of weakness you have and use your strengths to shore those areas up. That's what growth is all about, leading to the next evolutionary process is success.
And let me say, before we go to success, that as you'll hear in future programs, and as you've already heard, most of you, in past programs, this has both mental and emotional aspects. So it's more information, but it's also a greater sensitivity to the emotional nature. And to a large degree, what you're looking for in this sense is less mental than emotional. But again, we'd be fools to separate these and to say you could have a thought that doesn't come out of and influence in return your emotional nature. And, of course, just as emotions are impacted by thoughts, a lot of thoughts come out of feelings. So you are not the thought, you are not the feeling, you're not the battle, which am I? You're above all of that when you come to paradise and use the practical tools we're sharing with you of focused passion.
Yeah, paradise thinking, paradise thoughts and feelings, focused passion, essentially that wonderful perspective of being the observer of what's going on between your thoughts and feelings rather than being wrapped up and torn up
this
by
is alpha.
By them.
We've known it as alpha for 40 years. And this woman that's been talking about the brain surgeon that had the brain hemorrhage and had the experience of going into her
I heard that on Oprah.
Jill Bolton Taylor.
That's
I think
the one.
is her
Good
name.
memory.
This is a remarkable experience, again, from a physiological point of view. But what we're primarily interested in is not how it works in terms of brain science or even so much how it works in terms of mind science.
I'm pretty fascinated by that stuff, actually.
Me too.
Yeah.
But,
I know.
But that it works and that we can give you really simple, practical, portable techniques, that means to share with your friends and family and other people, for accessing this higher self very quickly on demand. We're not talking about a 30-minute or hour-long meditation or Sanskrit chanting. If you want to do that, it's fine. Steve and I have really done a lot of the work for you, and these programs are in many ways the essence of growth and success and fulfillment. And I just wanted to get that in. And then out of this growth, obviously, would come success.
Yeah, and, as defined by you and your higher self, what is success? Well, to me, it would mean I've discovered my gifts, talents, and abilities, and I'm developing them, and I'm moving along, and I have everything I need, and I have everything I want and more. That's success. Now, fulfillment, of course, is what to do with the more. But if I've got everything I want and virtually everything I need and all that stuff, that's success. Now, that could be, for one person, millions of dollars, and for another person, it could be dozens of friends, whatever floats your boat. You get to define success for yourself. But I can tell you one thing, it always feels great. The higher self feels like we've accomplished what we need to do. This was our calling. This was our mission. This is what we're supposed to be doing on the earth, and we're doing it. That's what success is. If we feel like we're living up to the part of us that is saying this is what we're meant for, that's success.
And of course, it's got to be your success. It's got to be the higher you and not the frightened ego. Otherwise, we get ethical problems around success and the recent challenges to America's economy and the global economy bring this crystal clear. It certainly should be a lesson that we learn once and for all. How could you be successful if you're being unethical to do it? You see, you're a failure. You may have a lot of money. You got the $100 million, I can't even hardly say it, golden parachute, and that was your reward for laying off 30,000 people. You're successful because you have all this money, but nobody wants to talk to you. You see, you have no friends. And your kids, what are they going to say when they look at what you've done to the world? And you say, well, I'm a small player. Well, are you? Ethical success to me is redundant, but I felt like I had to bring it up. Because it's more than money. I mean, you already said it's more than.
If you can't sleep at night, I don't care how much money you got. That is not success.
I don't think so.
If you've hurt other people and are not in the process of remedying that, not in the process of making it good again, then that's not success.
The free market has nothing to do with stealing old people's pensions.
Exactly.
That's nothing free about theft. Like free speech doesn't mean you can shout fire in a crowded theater.
Right. You're not allowed to steal
or
even if the
slander.
law says that you can. I'm sorry. There's values that go beyond laws, and it's not ethical to do that. And success never includes breaking those commitments you have to your honesty and integrity. It just, if you do not have those commitments, if honesty and integrity do not matter to you, then the kind of success you will achieve is so unfulfilling that fulfillment is not, you end there. You'll never get to fulfillment. You're stopping at what you've called success. If your label of success doesn't include, I feel great about this, then fulfillment's not possible for you.
Yeah, you're growing the wrong person. You couldn't possibly be successful, so how could you ever attain any kind of real fulfillment? And even if you had the appearance of success, would there be fulfillment? And it's not likely. Here's what I want to say about that. If you think you need to lie, to cheat, to steal, even if you do it legally because you bought off the Congress people that gave you the law, you don't know what you're really capable of. It's like the person with the big ego, the barroom bully, and somebody might say, boy, he really thinks he's something, and of course, no, he actually thinks he's inadequate and stupid and unattractive. And he's afraid to discover the truth of who he is. So the ego is a front. And in many cases, the appearance of wealth is not an indication you've been successful. It's an indication if you did it unethically. There's lots of people with lots of money, very wonderful, prosperous people. There's industries of philanthropy and charity, people giving away enormous sums of money because they feel compelled to do so in their hearts. That's the higher self.
Indeed. So the bullying that you might have done, even if you didn't have $100 million parachute, maybe you weren't real nice to your 6-year-old yesterday or whatever it is. Those things, you can still feel successful and feel fulfilled if you're in the process of remedying the mistakes that you've made.
Never too late.
It's never too late for that. It's not like, you're always capable of moving toward growth, success, and fulfillment. No matter what you've ever done in the past, you're always capable of feeling successful if you heal what happened. Yeah. And that's inside of you. You don't have to deal with it, but you're inside of you. And if you have a clear idea from the higher self where your growth, success, and fulfillment leads you. So that's where we want to go, as to where does your growth, success, and fulfillment lead you. It all begins with the concept of focused passion. Without that, your mind is divided into many things, and you don't have the ability to focus your passion. You don't have the ability to get into this state of paradise. And it's paradise that gives us access to this higher self, the one that is the thinker of the thoughts, the feeler of the feelings, the awareness of yourself. And it's in that place that you are able to understand what growth, success, and fulfillment means to you. So we're going to do a audio journey, as we always do. Audio journey, guided meditation, guided process of taking you into the alpha brainwave state. Michael and I have been doing this together for 30 years, and we've always thought this is one of our favorite parts. This is where we take what we've told you about and actually integrate it into your mind.
Install it.
Install it. Make it so.
There you go. I like that. So it's important that you get comfortable, first of all, and decide, is this an appropriate time? And hopefully it is for you. So make yourself comfortable and sit back and relax. You don't have to sit straight up, super erect, but it's a good idea to sit up straight just to open up your breathing a little bit. And put your shoulders back. That opens up your rib cage. And take a nice, slow, deep breath through your nose, filling your lungs. Hold as you peak. And now as you begin to exhale, feel that nirvana. It means a sigh of relief, a letting go. And maybe 2 or 3 of those in through the nose, pulling in power and strength and letting go as you relax.
And feel so nice as you find yourself here in paradise. Paradise, your place of perfect peace, your place where you feel safe and at ease, the place that makes you feel like home, the place that you've grown in your mind. So now we're going to take a little time and find the paradise here inside yourself, the nature of this place, and how going to this paradise, going here to inner space, brings the focus and the passion to mind and heart. And that's why paradise, a place that feels so nice, is always where you start.
Reflect for a moment on how it feels in your body to let go of muscular tension, to feel safe and relaxed, and simply tell yourself, affirm to yourself, that you are in control of the letting go. You say, I am in control of the letting go, allowing myself to feel more relaxed and safer, almost as if floating down the rabbit hole or walking slowly down a beautiful staircase, going deeper, becoming more relaxed. And at the bottom of the stairs, moving out into what your first impression tells you is the most beautiful paradise that you can imagine.
And amazingly, it just became even more beautiful yet. There is no limit to your creativity here in this place of paradise, where you feel both safe, because you are, and powerful, because you have choices. So many, many choices. You can choose the areas of life that you wish to grow, the areas, the speed, the direction. You can choose how you wish to grow, where you wish to grow, when you wish to grow, why you wish to grow, and you can choose that growth process to lead you into your success. So you can feel success, you can have everything you need and most everything you want, and you can have more and know what to do with that more as you begin to feel your compassion, your empathy, your desire to help others overflowing, spilling out, and you become more and more fulfilled.
You might want to sit down and think about this. Find a shady spot beneath a tree. Or if it's a beautiful, perfect kind of a spring day, you could sit right smack dab in the middle of a sunny meadow or deep in a cool, enchanted, shady, forested place. And think about growing as unfolding your potential. Consider it as attainment, but also as a natural unfolding that you are learning to do in an accelerated and ever more elegant fashion, becoming more of your potential, and feel it in your body. Feel it in your heart. And think it, see it in your head, pursuing your interests, because you, the real you, the best of you, has always had focus and passion in this field where you are already growing, but now can accelerate and enhance the process.
Because with the self, the higher self being aware, in this place of paradise thinking, every thought helps you grow. From this higher awareness, the good thoughts you say yes, and to the bad thoughts you simply say no. And when you have a negative thought or a feeling of fear, what to do is abundantly clear. You just release. You just let that thought go. You just think in your mind. To that thought you say no. And as you let the thought release, you replace it with peace and a feeling that just grows within. The feeling that with the negative thought gone, there's so much more room now for all my positive thoughts to seep in. So every thought you think is a wonderful thought. To the good ones you say yes and you grow. And to the bad thoughts you release, release, release as you say no. It feels wonderful, and when every thought feels so great, there's another thing that you just happen to create, a side effect, a wonderful thing, if you will. In fact, you'll find it to be an ultimate thrill, because every thought you think, a thought you like, every thought you think feels great. Then there's one other thing that kind of thinking does, one other thing it does create, and that is happiness. That is happiness. You'll see that when every thought is a thought you like, well, what you get is to be happy. What you get is to live happy.
And so, see yourself in your mind's eye being successful, and consider what success means. Certainly, you can begin with money, material prosperity. You deserve abundance in your life, and the more you prosper and benefit others, in your integrity, in a genuine and honest way, the more prosperity you will attract in your life.
And you deserve to be doing what you love in your life. You deserve the career that fulfills you as well. And health.
And friendships. Relationships. Never underestimate relationships. And love all of your life. Love the animals in your life, your pets, and the fact that you live in a beautiful, beautiful place. And just consider, as part of success, the power and the magic of gratitude for all that you have. Make your happiness include gratitude for all that you have, especially if these are difficult times for you. And expand your sense of personal success.
And growth and success and fulfillment have so many different faces. There's so many things you can do in this world. You can visit so many places. And there's previous programs we've done on dozens and dozens of different topics too. Lots of different entry points. You'll find the right ones for you. But when you close your eyes and you find yourself release the tension and fill yourself with this inner peace, whenever you do this, whenever paradise thinking does arise, there's a part of you that sort of opens your mind's eyes, and you can see more creatively, and you can feel more wise, and you can just experience more through this higher self's eyes. Close your eyes and take a deep breath, and every time you release, take yourself to paradise, find that inner peace, and find yourself, this higher self, the one that goes beyond the part that brought you to this paradise place, the one that knows that you are more than your thoughts, feelings, things, and clothes. It knows you are the awareness that grows.
And therein does growth become success and approach fulfillment, for there is no arrival stage. Your longing is like that of a plant that turns toward the sun and yearns for its source, the source of its life, even tracking the sun across the sky. There is a longing to be more, but maybe better said, a realization on some level that you are so much more in the image of something magnificent. And it's hard to put your finger on, but fulfillment is about using focused passion in paradise to find the self that is sensitive to that longing.
And as you continually find yourself here in paradise by just closing your eyes and taking that one slow, conscious, deep breath with the intention of coming back here, you find instantly feeling love and releasing fear. It just happens automatically now. It's just what just happens to come true because it's practice and you've practiced, and so it's now part of you. So now, bringing yourself back, awareness of our voices, awareness that even as you awaken, you still have lots of choices. Take a deep breath and bring yourself back to wide awake. And one of the choices that we'd like you to make is going back now to the focusedpassion.com website because it's brand new. We're actually releasing this program to coincide with releasing the new makeover of our website. It's different, it's new, it's wonderful. We've got lots of free stuff and a great, great way to introduce your friends to finding yourself in paradise at focusedpassion.com.
We just thought if we were going to promote growth, success, and fulfillment, that we had an obligation to grow this website to be ever more successful and fulfilling for the people who subscribe. And so help each other to find that elevated point of view that is already within us. You've seen it every once in a while, and we're getting better and better at knowing our unique higher self.
And we'll make this promise one more time. You're going to really like the paradise you find inside that self, and you're going to love the self you find inside that paradise.
There you go. And as always, be gentle, love life, and take care of each other. For Steve Snyder, this is Michael Benner.